from 1225, correct?
Yes.
And so
correct.
1225 plus 12 is 1237. So the range we're talking about here is from 1225 through 1237, correct?
Correct.
Very top entry, health 1231.56, where you have the entry start of health event 36 steps, 25 meters, and yesterday we agreed 25 meters is approximately 84 feet, correct?
Correct.
And I want to discuss with you the very top entry, health 1231.56, where you have the entry start of health event 36 steps, 25 meters, and yesterday we agreed 25 meters is approximately 84 feet, correct?
Correct.
And that is what you have in the timeline. Let's understand what that means. Mention here is, why the accuracy is reduced at this point, correct?
Yes. Correct.
Thank you. This could include reasons such as the device entered a building covered area, the result of weather conditions, geography, poor connectivity, or interference, to name a few. So those are the reasons you gave, which could contribute to some low accuracy, correct?
Correct.
And interesting, the very first reason you gave is that the device could be entering a building or covered area. And that phraseology could include a house, correct?
Correct.
It could include a garage attached to the house, correct?
Correct.
And it could include the house at 34 Fairview, and it could include the garage attached to the house at 34 Fairview, because both of those are buildings or covered areas, correct?
Correct.
Now, the next paragraph says, at 12:38:13, when the device begins recording higher, and that's relative to what it was recording before. It's not that it's high, but it's higher than what it was just moments before.
Correct.
The data centers on a location slightly closer to the house than the roadside. Although several records show the same center coordinate with differing accuracy radii. Some of these location records are shown in the map below in white. So let's go down and look at what you had in your report for the area in white. In the area in white that you're referring to, there are two white circles, the largest one there. This, in fact, was a depiction that you included in your report on page 29, correct?
Correct.
Interesting and notable, you did not include that depiction in your timeline that you discussed with the jury yesterday, did you?
I did not know.
The larger white circle covers a substantial amount of the house at 34 Fairview, correct?
Correct.
Given your testimony on direct yesterday with Attorney Brennan, the phone of John O'Keefe, according to this depiction, could be anywhere within the largest white circle, correct?
Correct.
Paragraph that begins with at 12:38:13, when the device begins recording higher accuracy information. Again, the data centers on a location slightly closer to the house than the roadside, although several records show the same center coordinate with differing accuracy radii. Some of these location records are shown on the map in white below. And I repeated that just to connect this part of the text to that diagram with the big white circle. If the GPS coordinate and the associated accuracy radius jumps around numerous times between the house and the road. Did I read that correct?
Correct.
Over the next few hours, according to your report, the phone of John O'Keefe could be in the house, correct?
Yes.
Data from this data source, Cache SQLite, is usually able to identify the location of the device with a high degree of accuracy and reliability. These records are so close that making a distinction between the device's actual location on the front garden is impossible, correct?
Correct.
Your words, impossible.
Correct.
Provide any of the information in that paragraph in your timeline or to the jury in your direct testimony yesterday?
Not in the PowerPoint, no.
Next paragraph. Location records are limited to just the records between 0025, which is 12:25, and 6 a.m. and with an accuracy radius of 10 meters or less. There are 46 records, all of which fall within the red circle shown below. If we can enlarge that. Yesterday, Mr. Whiffin, you focused your testimony and your opinions on the smaller black circle, correct?
Correct.
And you didn't discuss at all or disclose at all this depiction, and therefore didn't discuss or disclose at all the larger white circle, correct?
Not when discussing my overall opinion.
Right.
Yeah.
So the answer is
no.
Right. So the fair way to interpret, and this is what you put in your report, this is your depiction, is that, and based upon what you said yesterday, the phone could be at the very edge of the top of the circle, correct?
Correct.
And the phone could also be at any point, so you can, in theory, put a phone anywhere around the very edges of that entire circle, correct? Your testimony yesterday in this depiction, the phone could be anywhere in that location,
yes,
within the area of that white circle.
Correct.
And then the description, start of health event, 36 steps, 25 meters, and we agreed about 84 feet. And this is where the device began moving toward the house for a period of 20 seconds. Is that correct?
It's the time that 36 steps started to record.
I want to focus on the time, 12:31:56. To take the cell phone and press the side button to do that, correct?
It does, yes.
So there has to be some degree of coordination for that to occur, for a human to be able to have something that hits that button, correct?
Certainly, yes.
Do you understand what a term fine motor skill means? Do you understand that? And would that person have to be using fine motor skills to do that?
Yes.
Entry 12:32:16. End of health event, 36 steps, 25 meters, again 84 feet. That is in your timeline because that's when you believe the end of the health event, the end of the 36 steps occurred, correct?
That is the time that the device data shows the end of the health event, yes.
And when an iPhone is in a lock state with little activity occurring on the device, the battery temperature is heavily affected by the ambient temperature in the environment, again, matching the pattern of the rise and the fall of the thermometer temperature, right?
Correct.
And what I just read is right out of your March 2025 report, correct?
It sounds like it is, yes.
An appendix to your report that discussed two test scenarios with regard to temperature, correct?
Correct.
Test scenario 1, you took an iPhone, if I'm remembering correctly, same model as John O'Keefe's?
I believe John O'Keefe's was iPhone 11. I used an iPhone 10.
But sufficiently similar for purposes of this experiment?
Correct.
Or this test?
Same iOS version.
Yes. So it's the same iOS version, the software inside the phone, just a different model?
Yes.
And it's a software that's important for this test, correct?
I believe so.
So you state that you placed the iPhone inside a freezer, correct?
Correct.
For your experiment, when did you do test scenario 1, approximately, the date?
This is a good question. It was sometime probably in December last year.
You took the phone, you put it inside a freezer. What was the temperature of the freezer?
I actually don't know.
But it was a freezer.
It was freezing. Yes.
It is sort of your just regular freezer that everybody has.
A regular chest
Nothing
freezer.
Special about
No.
it. 17:10 time frame, where it's placed in the freezer, and you've got, and we're going to go with Fahrenheit, 73.4 degrees. Correct?
Correct.
And then if you go all the way down to the 1725, which would be 15 minutes, correct?
Correct.
Can you state what the drop in temperature is of the battery temperature in just 15 minutes in a freezer?
Approximately 50 degrees Fahrenheit.
So it drops 50 degrees Fahrenheit in just 15 minutes.
Correct.
A little over 3.5 degrees per minute. 3.3 degrees Fahrenheit per minute drop, correct?
Correct.
Scenario 2, you took the same phone with the same software and you placed it outside at a temperature of 33.8 degrees Fahrenheit, correct?
Correct.
We start out with a control temperature, and then we've got a battery temperature at 902, and this is the battery temperature of the iPhone, correct?
Correct.
And we've got 66.2 degrees Fahrenheit, correct?
Correct.
If we go from 902 down to 9:15, a period of 13 minutes, correct?
Correct.
So at 33.8 degrees and 13 minutes, what is the drop in temperature in degrees? What's the drop?
Sorry, between the 902 and the 915?
Right. So does it go from 66.2 to 35.6?
It does.
And sir, so I don't have to have you do a math on the fly. I've calculated that drop at 30.6. Does that sound about right?
That sounds correct, yes.
So you got a drop of 30.6 degrees in just 13 minutes at an outside temperature of 33.8, correct?
Correct.
Degrees in just 13 minutes, again at an outdoor temperature of 33.8, and then test scenario 1 in a freezer where it dropped 61.2 degrees in just 15 minutes. Now let's go to the slide. What you stated was the temperature change in the iPhone of John O'Keefe on the morning of January 29th. You with me, sir?
Yep.
Thank you. So if we start out at 12:13, we see a battery temperature of 82 degrees Fahrenheit, correct?
Correct.
Then it drops a little bit to 77, a little bit to 72. And what I want to focus on is keeping the starting point for my questions here at the 12:37 time period on the morning of January 29th. And that's 72 degrees Fahrenheit, correct?
Correct.
So if you take the time period from 12:37 to 12:53, that's a 15-minute interval, correct?
Correct.
The phone only drops 11 degrees Fahrenheit in 15 minutes, correct?
Correct.
If you then go to 12:37 and give it a little bit more time, down to 1:36 a.m., the temperature, and that's just about an hour, right?
Correct.
And the temperature drops from 72 to 50, only 22 degree drop in an hour, correct?
Correct.
This chart in the drop in temperature, for example, 12:37, 12:53, in 15 minutes, it's only dropping 11 degrees, to your experiments, where with the first scenario with the freezer, it dropped 50 degrees in a 15-minute period. Is it correct to say that there was a much more dramatic drop in temperature in your test scenario 1 than what actually occurred on John O'Keefe's phone for the time period we just covered in January 29th?
Yes.
Where the temperature is 33.8 degrees. That's the ambient, the outdoor temperature,
Correct.
right? At that temperature, just above freezing, you're getting a drop in your experiment in 13 minutes of 30.6 degrees, right?
Correct. My testing proved that the battery temperature is affected by ambient temperature. My report shows the data that was on the device. I also don't know the condition that the phone was found in, whether it was in a case, whether it was in a pocket. So, to me, the ambient temperature in Canton at the time wasn't particularly relevant. I just wanted to show what data the device had recorded.
And you deem the temperature important enough to do 2 test scenarios, important enough to put it in a slide presentation to this jury. Yet there's no discussion of that between you and any member of law enforcement as to what it means?
The details were provided in my report, and there was discussions, but it never came up as to say what was the temperature in Canton that night.
Oh, so there were discussions?
Not with law enforcement.
Oh, who were
as part of my preparations for trial.
Oh! Tell me about who you discussed this temperature information with.
It was with Hank.
You're hesitating, and I can't hear you. Who did you discuss
with
it
Hank?
with? Excuse me?
With Mr. Brennan.
Attorney Brennan?
Yes.
You discussed temperature with Prosecutor Brennan?
It was in my report.
It was in your report, but you said you discussed. Which is it?
It's in my report, and the discussion was that it is in my report. I'm not in a position to suggest that investigations take place and change based on my report findings.
Oh, sir, I'm not suggesting what you just stated. I'm just trying to get information about, you mentioned the verb discussed. Didn't you, in your answer moments ago?
Yes.
Isn't discussed a verbal thing? It's not a written thing?
It was discussed in preparation for trial, yes.
Oh, so there was a discussion, a verbal discussion with Attorney Brennan about temperature in your preparation for trial?
Yes.
Was there any interest at all as to what this could actually mean for the potential location of Mr. O'Keefe's phone on these very important time periods in January 29th that might assist to determine at various times whether Mr. O'Keefe is in a covered building based upon the temperature rather than outside in a nor'easter on January 29th?
I'm sorry, what was the question there?
Yeah, the question is, was there any discussion about the investigative value of what you had done in determining where that phone could have been on key time periods on the morning of January 29th?
That wasn't part of the discussion, no.
It wasn't part of the discussion. We went through, you may recall in my questioning, in your report, where you stated that it was possible that the phone could be inside the house of 34 Fairview based upon that big white circle. You testified that the low accuracy at certain points could be because of it entering a covered building, correct?
Correct.
And you do a temperature experiment to track the very accurate temperature change of an iPhone, and it doesn't match up the actual data with either of your test scenarios, and you don't raise that with anybody. Did you yesterday, in your presentation to the jury, in any way discuss your battery test scenario 1 and 2 in your March 2025 report?
I believe there was mention of testing, but not to the amount of detail to say what the testing was.
Right. So there was no detail given at all about
detail.
it. You just mentioned that it occurred, but no detail in your discussion
Correct.
at all. And isn't one of the companies that can be used in his magnet forensics? Am I correct that yesterday You essentially said that as of today, no Celebrite tool, no Insight suite such as Physical Analyzer, today shows that 22740 AM timestamp.
Correct. If you use any version from the last approximately year, that timestamp won't show up.
It won't show up as you sit here today.
Correct.
But that's not always been the case
Correct.
with regard to Celebrite forensic tools, correct?
Correct.
As a matter of fact, in the first proceeding in this case, in June of 2024, when you testified under oath, the situation with the forensic tools was Celebrite Forensics Insights did not show the 22740 AM timestamp, but another version of Physical Analyzer did show it, correct?
Correct.
In that second program, that second tool, Physical Analyzer, not only showed it at 22740 AM, but it showed it as a deleted state, correct?
It's a deleted record, yes.
A deleted record.
Yes.
Did you mention that yesterday in your direct testimony?
I don't believe so.
You don't believe so?
No, we changed it since then.
Exactly, you changed it since then.
Yes.
Your company removed it
Yes.
at the time of trial.
Yes.
Last year in June, when you were testifying under oath, one of the Celebrite tools showed the timestamp of 22740 AM, correct?
Correct.
But that timestamp doesn't exist anymore, and it doesn't exist today, does it?
Correct.
Celebrite removed it.
Yes.
So with regard to the first proceeding, there was one Celebrite forensic tool that still showed the 22740 AM timestamp.
Correct.
And it was shown in a deleted state.
The record was deleted, yes.
The record was deleted. And then after that, Celebrite outright removed the timestamp from so none of its programs had. Correct?
The timestamp's been removed, yes.
However, the competitor of Celebrite that we just talked about, Magnet Forensics Axiom,
Yes.
that program at the first proceeding showed the 22740 AM timestamp, correct?
Correct.
And as a matter of fact, as you sit here today, the Magnet Forensics program, Axiom, still shows the 22740 AM timestamp, correct?
As far as I know, yes.
And Magnet Forensics Axiom is a reputable company, correct?
Correct.